Hi everyone, today I'm here with a review of The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. I finished this book yesterday. I have not prepared for this video in the slightest way, so I'm just gonna go with what I think at this point. This book is set in London 1893, and we've got our main character, Cora Seaborn. Her husband dies. Then she goes to a countryside with her son, and there's this rumour about the Essex Serpent, and she's trying to find out if that's true or not. Then we also meet another character, William Ransom, who is a vicar in a church, and obviously he's a very religious man. And obviously their beliefs kind of contradict with each other, and then no one knows what's going to happen. Like I said, I've not prepared for this video at all, so I'm just probably going to be randomly talking about things that come to my mind about this book. But the first thing I want to say is that I didn't actually feel that it was set in the 1893. I'm sure, I know it's only the end of the 19th century, almost the beginning of the 20th century. It's close to the 20th century than it is to the 19th century. But still, I thought, I could be wrong again, when I was reading the Sherlock Holmes books, they were still felt very much like Victorian period, even though I think they were set at the end as well, so roughly the same time. But this one somehow felt a lot more modern than it should have been, in my opinion at least. I could be wrong again, I don't know, but I just didn't feel like it was set at that period. It felt more like 20th century than the 19th century. Also, I did not like how the main character, how she kept pointing out that she's not a typical woman, so she doesn't really like dressing up like a woman, she doesn't like doing things like a woman, so it should be kind of feminist, and in a way that, but the thing is she just kept pointing it out and everyone else kept pointing it out, so it just kind of started getting on my nerves, to be honest, because we got it that she is not your typical woman, let's just say. And she doesn't even try to like be beautiful or whatever. The atmosphere of the book is definitely all that kind of a little bit creepy and mysterious from time to time. We would get the chapters that would be, well, basically the narration goes from one character to another and it is set in different chapters, but sometimes we'd get the chapters which are like, I don't know, it felt like kind of distant, and there would be about several characters, and those chapters had this sort of mysterious and kind of Essex Serpent like vibe, atmosphere, if that makes any sense what I'm trying to say. But definitely those chapters were quite sort of, they added something to the story, so I enjoyed that atmosphere, basically is what I'm trying to say. As for the plot itself, I wouldn't say it's a very fast moving book. It's definitely, it hasn't got a lot of action. I think it's mostly focused on the characters, on their relationships that they build with each other. There are a lot of characters, and I think every single character kind of gets depth into them, so you kind of get to know every single one of them, I think most of them. And then their relationships, the intricate sort of complicated relationships with different things, I quite enjoyed it. And it's not your typical novel in so many ways, so there is a love interest, a few like love storylines at the same time, but they're not typical, definitely not typical, and I expected them to be going in a different way, in a different direction, but no, they surprised me, so I definitely did not expect those. The only thing I want to say is that I did not understand why the book ended at the point that it ended, because it just felt like there could have been more to the story, but it just finished, so I wasn't quite satisfied with the ending, to be honest with you. But it's not to say that it was a bad ending or anything, it's just my personal opinion that I wanted a little bit more. I wanted a bit more of a conclusion. I wanted to find out what was going to happen to the characters and everything. And this Essex Serpent, I definitely can't tell you a lot about it because that will spoil the whole thing, but the Essex Serpent definitely played a huge part on people's lives and people's minds in this book. I would say, is it a cozy book? I'm not sure if it is. I think it mostly is, then it's not. And it takes place during several months. I don't know if I liked any of the characters, to be honest with you. I found Cora's son quite intriguing because he's different. It's not actually described, it's not actually mentioned in the book how he's different, and probably purely because people didn't know at the time what it was wrong about him in the way So I found him intriguing. He was definitely an intriguing character. The way he was trying to sort of understand people, their motives, basically being in his head, I quite liked that as well. So he was probably the most intriguing character. Apart from that, I don't think I enjoyed any of the other characters. The romance in this book was kind of interesting, more like real life romance. It's not your typical, like I said, romance in this book. It's more like a real life. I definitely enjoyed this book. I gave it 4 stars or 3.5 stars. I can't actually decide. But I read it a lot faster than I thought. At first 300 pages I read very, very quickly. Like on the first day I read about 100 pages, then that never happens with the book this size. It's about 400 pages. I thought it would take me a lot longer than that. So the fact that I read it quite quickly just probably tells you something. I probably read it less than 2 weeks, but then there were a few days that I wasn't reading anything at all. So that tells you something, that it was quite an interesting book and I really enjoyed it. I hope this review was somehow helpful. I just thought I'd sit down and tell you whatever comes to my mind. Let me know if you enjoyed it a lot more than just like a structured review. Probably didn't, but anyway, let me know what you think of this format of the review. But yeah, let me know if you've read this book and what you thought about it, or if you're planning to read it. I'd love to know that. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will see you in the next one. Thank you for watching. Bye!